If they explain Nigeria to you and you understand it, it means that they did not explain it well. I have heard this statement before. I'm sure you have heard it. But is it true? Well, in this video, I'm going to try to prove or disprove this statement. I'm going to try to explain Nigeria to you, and I want to check if I explained it well or if you understand it. I titled this video Nigeria Summarized, or the summary of Nigeria socio-political problems and the solution. Nigeria is a country of abundant mineral and natural resources. Abundant. So abundant that if the resources of Nigeria were to be used for the benefit of Nigeria and Nigerians, Nigeria potentially could be the most powerful or wealthiest country in the world, in the whole world. Yes. So what is stopping Nigeria from using her abundant mineral and natural resources for the benefit of Nigeria and Nigerians? What is stopping us? There is a problem. There are rich and powerful countries, colonial powers, that want exactly what we have, our very abundant mineral and natural resources. In fact, they want three things. Number one, they want our abundant mineral and natural resources for themselves. Number two, they do not want Nigeria or Nigerians to benefit from their abundant resources. They don't want it. That's number two. Number three is they want Nigeria and Nigerians to be dependent, to remain dependent on them, the powerful countries, for goods and services that they, the powerful countries, produce from our own mineral and natural resources. These are the three things that they want. These are the three things they wanted during the slave trade. These are the three things they wanted during colonization. It's still the same three things that they want. So what is stopping them from doing so or achieving this, their objective now? What stops them from just coming into Nigeria like they did during the slave trade, during the colonization era? What stops them? Their own rules-based or international rules-based system that is set up after the Second World War, where they set up the United Nations and they came up with the principle of sovereignty of nations, right? So now, based on the principle of countries' sovereignty, no other country or any other person can just come and interfere into the domestic affairs of countries. So this stops them from openly coming into Nigeria to enforce and implement things that will help them achieve these their three goals. They can't do it openly. But does that stop them from doing it secretly? The answer is no, it doesn't. For them to achieve these their three goals in this new international rules-based era, in the era of sovereignty of countries, for them to achieve it, they need our own Nigerian government, and indeed our own African government, to implement policies that will grant these powerful countries access to our abundant mineral and natural resources. They need our government to implement such policies, and they need our government to also implement policies that deny Nigerians benefit from their own abundant mineral and natural resources. And thirdly, they need our own government to implement policies that will keep Nigeria and Nigerians dependent on these so-called colonial powers, these rich and powerful countries, for goods and services that they produce from our own mineral and natural resources. This is what they want. They want a government that will implement that policy. Now, is it possible for Nigerians to form a government made up of Nigerians that will implement these kind of policies? Naturally, the answer to that would have been no. But that did not stop them. They decided to use the principle of foreign direct investment, the principle of free trade zone area, the principle of capitalism, the principle of loan or debt, the principle of foreign aid, they used all of these things. Add on top of that the principle of shell corporations or shell companies. They put all of these ingredients together to form something called corruption. And they used that corruption to force corrupt leaders on us. And they either bully, coerce, or induce these corrupt leaders that they have forced on us to implement policies that will help these foreign powers gain access to our abundant mineral and natural resources, that will help these foreign powers to deny Nigerians from benefiting from their own resources, to implement policies that will keep Nigerians dependent on these foreign powers for goods and services that these foreign powers make from our own mineral and natural resources. So they forced this government on us through corruption. Now you will ask, what are the people doing? Can't the people unite against this government? Can't the people come together to stop these corrupt leaders that they force on us? Yes, the people can actually do that. But you see, we have another problem. These colonial powers, they understand that if they left the people alone, the people will come together, the people will push out of office the corrupt leaders that they are forced on us, and then the people will elect credible leaders to implement policies that will actually benefit Nigerians and make Nigeria the greatest country in the world, which they don't want. They know that. So what do? From their experience with slave trade and their experience with colonization, they have come to also discover that they could do their colonization remotely, because they have understood that now, if you want to keep a people in chains, you want to keep them bound, you want to keep them colonized, you don't need to use force anymore. They have realized this. The Americans and the Europeans, even the Russians and the Chinese, the global north in general, they have realized this. If you want to keep a people in chains, you want to keep them enslaved, you do not need to use force anymore, physical force. No need for that. No need for chains. No need to use guns. No need for all of those. All you just need to do is convince the same people that they are actually supposed to be slaves. Once you convince them and they are convinced, and of course, the human mind is programmable. You can program the human mind. Once you succeed to convince them that they are in chains, the people that they are supposed to be in chains, the people will take up the chains by themselves and put it in their hands by themselves. So with this understanding, they came at us to weaponize 7 aspects of the Nigerian life, of the African life, particularly the sub-Saharan Africa. 7 aspects. I'll mention these 7 aspects because you see, understanding Nigeria and how to solve Nigeria will not be possible if you do not understand how these 7 sectors of the Nigerian life have been weaponized, and how we need a paradigm shift in all of these 7 sectors for there to be development, for there to be security, for there to be progress and prosperity in Nigeria. What are these 7 segments that they have weaponized in order to keep us distracted and divided? Of course, you know that they are masters at this. Divide and conquer. It has worked for time immemorial. It has always worked. It worked during slavery, where black were pitched against black, black were selling blacks into slavery. It worked during colonization. It takes somebody from the inside to sell out another person for the colonizers to work. We saw that happen in Lagos between Oba Kintoye and this other Oba, right? So divide and conquer is a policy that they know always worked. And what they experienced in the northern part of Nigeria after the British conquered the northern part is that, there's already religion there, and there are other tools they could also use for indirect rule. So they can rule by proxy. It's called indirect rule. They found that they can rule indirectly through these 7 weaponized segments. By keeping us distracted and divided, we cannot come together to form a voice, to push away the corrupt leaders that they are forced on us, that are implementing the policies that are benefiting the that are beneficial to the colonial powers, but not beneficial to we, the Nigerian people. It's like in the Bible, it says that even God looked down, the people were so united, they were building the Tower of Babel, and God said, if I leave these people to continue to be united, what will happen is that now there's nothing they decide to do that they cannot do. So the Europeans, of course, somehow they had some input into this whole religious books thing. They understood this, that for them to have their way through the imposed corrupt leaders that they have imposed, they need the people divided and distracted. They need them divided. And so what do? In order to divide them, they had to weaponize these 7 segments of the Nigerian life. And until there is a paradigm shift in these 7 areas of the Nigerian life, Nigeria cannot know peace, Nigeria cannot know security, Nigeria cannot know prosperity or abundance. Nigeria cannot know it. So what are these 7 areas? We need to identify them, and then we can now see how to solve the problem of Nigeria. Education, entertainment, media, business, tradition, religion, and politics. Those are the 7 segments of the Nigerian life that have been weaponized to keep the people divided and distracted, so that they will never be able to come together to unite, to push away whatever corrupt leaders they have forced on us through their corruption principle made up of foreign direct investment, loans, or debts, or aid, or free trade zone area, shell corporation, that enables Nigerians or Africans to store money abroad without it being traceable. All of these are the ingredients that were put together to create corruption. Many people don't know that corruption was manufactured by the IMF and the World Bank and the CIA. It's a Western thing. It was manufactured by them. People had greed, yes, but the Westerners, led by the US, they found new ways to feed into that greed that is present in every human being, using all of these principles so that you can steal the money of your country, allow foreigners to loot the resources of your country in the hopes that they give you a tiny portion of it, and then you can store those monies abroad so that if and when the people decide, or some government that does not like you come into power and they decide to probe you, your money will be safe outside the shores of this country. So they created a leadership problem for us with corruption, and they created a followership problem for us by weaponized poverty that is aided and abetted by weaponized segments of the society. Every of these segments of the society that I talked about, they go to weaponize or create poverty and hunger. Poverty and hunger. the educational system we have in Nigeria right now, in Africa right now, is designed to create poverty and hunger and nothing more. The entertainment system that we have is designed to create poverty and hunger and nothing more. The media that we have, check it. If you look at it, media does not promote things that will benefit you. This is why they had to ban media, certain media in China for them to grow. And this is why you see that what they even promote or project in Western media is different from what they promote to us. Because the media that is being promoted or projected to us goes eventually and ultimately to create poverty and hunger. It may look, because that's what it sells to us, that it creates employment. It's a lie. We'll look into details. We'll prove all of this statement that we're talking about. The entertainment they give us creates poverty. The media creates poverty. The religion we practice, the ultimate part of it, they may tell you that it solves your problem. It doesn't. It actually creates poverty and hunger. And all of this is based off one principle, the principle of celebrity. The principle of taking from 1,000 people and giving a token to one so that you can keep the 1,000 people hopeful, but they will never attain. You cannot solve the hunger problem of Nigeria by praying. Prayer will not provide food for everybody. It's by working. And so by the time they sell you hope, which is all that religion does, whether Christian or Islamic or traditional religion, it sells hope. In fact, this is why they describe religion as the opioid of the masses. It's like Igbo for the masses. It's like drink for the masses. You drink it and you can't think straight. That is what it is, religion. Now, it can be a good thing. It can be a bad thing. Depends on how you utilize it. And that's why I'm talking about weaponized religion creates poverty and hunger in Nigeria. More details later. From religion, we go on to business. You will find out that even our businessmen, the billionaire business people, the kind of businesses we engage in, cannot really be described as businesses. It can best be described as trading, buying and selling. It's never production-based. It's all consumption-based. The four critical sectors that every country needs homegrown solution for to be truly independent, Nigeria never makes any investment in those directions. And that's to tell you how our leaders have been imposed on us to implement policies that will not benefit Nigerians, but only grant access to Nigeria's resources to the foreign powers and keep Nigerians dependent on the foreign powers for goods and services that they produce using our resources. That is why, because they will never allow our government to implement policies in these four sectors. What are these four sectors? Number one, homegrown agriculture technology or solutions. They will never. If they tell you that they are making investment into agriculture right now, all you need to do is follow the money. And you will find out that really all the investments we make in agriculture, 90% of it actually benefits the foreign powers. Because every investment that the Nigerian government makes, or even Nigerians make into agriculture, as investments that require you to import solutions. And the more you import solutions into Nigeria, you and I know that that means that we are exporting jobs and importing poverty. So our business people will not invest in homegrown agricultural solutions. They won't. Even people like Dangote have come out to say it openly, that the reason why they would not invest in agriculture, in the production of wheat, for instance, is because they are donor companies. They are IFC-linked corporations. They are AFC corporations that are linked to the IMF and World Bank. And it's Dangote that said it himself. Didn't want him to invest in wheat production because that would affect their wheat production in Europe and in the Americas. So they wouldn't want us to invest in critical sectors agriculturally that will keep Nigeria food secure or food independent. They don't want it. So homegrown food and agricultural solutions. That's number one. Number two, we need an active steel and fabrication technology. If Nigeria had an active steel technology, you will see that we wouldn't need to spend as much as $20 billion to build Dangote refineries, because all of the materials, 70% of the materials you need to build a refinery is steel based. Pipelines and fractionating column and all of that, they are based on steel. So if Nigeria had an active steel industry or active steel and fabrication sector, we'll be able to manufacture everything we need across all the segments of the Nigerian economy. We'll be able to have all the transmission lines so that we can generate and transmit electricity without our national grid collapsing every other day. We'll be able to manufacture tractors for agriculture. We'll be able to manufacture cars and guns for security, vehicles for transportation. We'll be able to manufacture generator even for electricity supply. We'll be able to manufacture so many things if we had an active steel and fabrication technology. But you see, they will not allow our leaders and our government to invest in this sector. They will also not allow our leaders to invest in the third sector, which is homegrown software solutions. India has done it. China has done it. Japan has done it. You cannot say because, you already have a Microsoft, that you should not have your own homegrown solution. Do you know how much Nigeria spends on buying Microsoft licenses? Microsoft alone, not to talk of Oracle, not to talk of all of those things. Every year, Microsoft alone is 3 times richer than Nigeria. The whole of the GDP of Nigeria is about $400 billion right now. Elon Musk alone is $450 billion or thereabout net worth. Elon Musk alone, which means that if you add all the money of Dangote, all the money of Otedola, all the money of Lumelu, all the money of Tinubu, Akpabio, add all their money together, Elon Musk alone is richer than everybody in Nigeria. Add all the money of Oyedepo, of Adeboye, because the illusion is there that, Adeboye or Oyedepo is even richer than even Elon Musk. It's an illusion. It's one of the fallouts of the weaponized religion that we have been served. But you see, all the money of Oyedepo, Adeboye, and all of it, if you put them together, it's not up to the net worth of Elon Musk alone. So why will we not invest in our own homegrown solution? There is open office. There are open source software that we can develop our own. If you gather 100,000 Nigerian youth and you divide them and you structure them across the 774 local government and you give them specific goals and objectives, they will come up with this solution. That's what South Korea is using to keep its economy afloat. I say South Korea, North Korea. But why would we not do it? Because the so-called colonial powers, they don't want us to invest in this third sector. And the fourth one is what? Semiconductor technology. We don't need 3 nanometers. We don't need 7 nanometers. We don't even need 20 nanometers. We don't even need even 90 nanometer technology. If you get the machine to print circuit boards in Nigeria here and to design certain chips, they don't need to be advanced. Russia does not have access to 3 nanometer technology semiconductors or 9 nanometer or 7 nanometer. They don't have. But they still have the S-300, the S-400, the S-500 that can defend Russia against the F-35s or the B-2 bombers or the B-21 bombers or whatever, the Strato bomber, whatever that the Americans can throw at them. They are still able to defend themselves. So why would they not allow Nigeria to invest in semiconductor technology? So that I studied electrical electronics in the university, right? I did a course on semiconductors where we're supposed to be designing ICs and all that. But we're all doing theory, rote memorization, cramming. Nothing. There was nowhere we could see anything to practice anything with. But right now, we could have 3D printers that could help us print these things. We could have, how much is a photolithography machine for designing microchips, billions of transistors. How much is it? $300 million. With the net worth of Dangote alone, he can buy at least 10 of that. 10 of that and put it in each of the geopolitical zone and say, okay, use that to train your youth or your students so that they can design our chips locally and we will not be depending on imported goods. They could do that, but no. The foreign backers through the IMF and the World Bank and the CIA, through the weapons of foreign direct investment. Of course, if we are able to manufacture locally, would we need them to come and do foreign direct investment? The answer is no. So that is why all of these are tools that they use to force our leaders to implement policies that will be beneficial to them as foreign countries, but not beneficial to we as Nigerians. These 4 critical sectors, they will never allow our government to make critical investment in them. And our business people, they fall along this line. Every business investor you see in Nigeria, when they talk foreign direct investment, they talk on services that are dependent on these 4 critical sectors. Every of the investment they tell you they want to make. Look, there is the Ogaga principle of war. I'll talk about it very in details later. But the Ogaga principle of war is simply that if you are not making your own weapons, don't go to war. Because ultimately, the person that benefits from war is the person who is making the weapons. It doesn't matter what you think or how big your ego is. The person benefiting from the war is the person that makes the weapon. And that is why I say it and I will continue to say it. The biggest beneficiary or the real beneficiary of the Nigerian Civil War or the Biafran War, whichever you choose to call it, are the people who were making the weapons that they were selling to us and stealing our crude oil in return for. Those were the big beneficiaries. Nigeria did not benefit from that war because what we had was our Team A leaders that were thinking for Nigeria. They were all eliminated. In fact, our Team B leaders were eliminated. Right now, we are running on Team C and Team D. Our first 11, no, they were eliminated in that war. Second 11, eliminated. So we're working with our third 11 and fourth 11 leaders. So we can't really say we benefited from that war. We cannot. And that is just the truth. And this is why we must, it's easy. We must focus on investment in these 4 critical sectors if we are going to get out of the trap they have put us in. I will just summarize again within this summary. The colonial powers, they want what we have. They don't want us to use it for ourselves. And in order for them to do that, they need to force corrupt leaders on us to implement policies that will benefit them and not Nigerians. They need that. And they need the people divided so that the people will not unite to push out the corrupt leaders and get good leaders in to implement right policies that will get Nigeria moving. They don't want that. So they created a leadership problem for us. They created a followership problem for us by weaponizing 7 critical areas of the Nigerian life. Yes, so that what we have is poverty and hunger. And so far as there's poverty and hunger, the people would then be divided amongst themselves because everybody will be looking for how to chop. And when you're looking for how to chop, it's stomach infrastructure, you cannot think. Then you will now be divided. Everybody will be shouting, oh, it is my turn, it is my turn. And we will not be seeing the harm that we're doing to ourselves. So they divide and distract us constantly with these 7 areas. And they stop us from making critical investment in 4 critical areas that I've mentioned so that we can continue to remain dependent on them. And so that the corrupt leaders that they are forced on us can continue to implement policies that give them access to our resources to exploit and then stop us from benefiting from them so that we can continue to be dependent on them. This is the problem. In fact, if you want to check the performance of any leader or any government in Nigeria, just look at how they make their investments. You see that it's either they're investing into more consumption or they're investing into production. Any government that does not make critical investment in these 4 sectors or segments of the Nigerian life is an asset in the hands of the foreign powers. This is a clear proof that those kind of leaders are forced on Nigerians and they are working against the interest of Nigeria. It's how, if you just look at the budget of the Tinubu administration and the APC for 2025, and you will see that none of the investment go into these four critical sectors. None. The investment that go in there go into consumption, to importing, to buying things, and importing things. And of course, the more we import, the more hunger we import and the more jobs we export. And so poverty and hunger and insecurity will continue to be on the rise. Hardship will continue to be on the rise. Inflation will continue to be on the rise, particularly when you have a government that devalues the naira and all that in the name of, oh, naira will find its feet. All of these are just tricks that they use to force bad leaders on us as Nigerians. This is the summary of it all, of Nigeria today, in terms of politics and all. Now, do you understand it? If you did, it means I explained it well. But since they say that if they explain Nigeria to you and you understand it, they didn't explain it very well, it will mean that I did not explain it very well. What do you think? Do you agree or do you not agree? Let me know. We need to share thoughts on this, because at the end of the day, I am sure that you and I want better condition of living for every single Nigerian. Let me know your thoughts.